Good afternoon. I'm presenting you now an exhibition we did on the subject of the representation of the body and mainly nakedness, female and male. It is a subject of great importance in Greek art and then afterwards in Roman art, though used in a slightly different way. It's not obvious that a culture puts the nakedness of the body into the center of its representation. You could also show bodies clothed, covered, as in other cultures. Even in the Mediterranean, Etruscans have another concept of nakedness than the Greeks. The Greeks put the body in a real central subject when fighting, when representing gods, and also human beings, with the concept heavily discussed in German archaeology for more than 100 years of heroic nakedness, heroische Nacktheit. A big subject, especially since the 50s, but also beforehand. It's something which strikes you, the nakedness also of body armor, the nakedness on big public buildings, and mainly male, but also female. And it is all around your youthful beauty when coming also into a situation of potentially also the aftermath, meaning you go beautiful out of the life in the next step, in the step of the aftermath. And there are even texts by Xenophon who says when you go to battle, you have to be beautiful and to be prepared. So no wonder it becomes a concept also on Greek cuirasses, which is absolutely not obvious. Why should you be naked? Nakedness could be associated with helplessness or vulnerability. It's not the case here. Here, the nakedness represents immortality, strength, and power. So here we have a very nice mix of a youthful god, Cahn, with a very horsey back, prancing, jumping, and with an extremely muscular body. This is a concept which is very typical for Cahn, and this grotesque, the body is pushed outside and in a gesture of ecstatic. It's an ecstatic movement and typical for this god, which is panicky, spreading panic, frightening, and this is so typical for the 2nd century BC. Then we have this wonderful Aphrodite torso, which represent a very famous type of the Capitoline Venus, and repeated endlessly. This is a particularly good quality piece, possibly from a high relief or attached to someone at the back. Then you have a totally different concept here with the youthful Dionysos. It was mistaken for Artemis, but in fact it is a Dionysos. It has no bosom, but he's androgynous. He has a very feminine face, but the legs are very elegant but masculine. And of course this is his preferred animal, the panther. So we have here the god fully dressed. This also happens, but dressed in a peculiar way with a skin. This is a skin of a goat or a deer hanging over his body. Then we go over here, and here we have this ample play, and we're very happy. We're at the moment capable of showing that. We have a Ganymede, which we discussed with Ulrike in a male blast of the past, very androgynous, the upper part of the body very male, but very strong muscular body, and then the hip part and the movement very feminine. That's why the type is called Ganymede. And on the other hand, a very Pericletian type, so pieces like this wonderful sculpture would stand in many posh places of the 1st and 2nd century AD, reflecting, of course, the Greek original by Polykleitos of the 5th century BC in bronze, like the Riace bronzes, which are not of Polykleitos, but show original bronzes of the period. And here you have a very strong, powerful masculine body, and it was one of the centerpieces in the 5th century BC. It was a famous piece And one wonders, why is it so important to a culture like the Greek culture and Greek society to put this in the center of their public representation, the naked male body. And then it will be taken over by the Romans, and of course the Roman emperor will show like that, or the Roman aristocracy and the military leaders will show themselves naked, which in effect is not as normal, and you wouldn't expect every culture to do the same. It is typical of the Greek culture, and then the Roman, if they decide to take over a Greek element, to be Graeculus, like they approached to Scipio Africanus, Graeculus es, you are very Greek, or like Hadrian. When we go on here, we have here a feminine body, probably of Aphrodite or a nymph, then also again the nakedness being presented with this sphinx, also a very typical Greek subject, which then was converted into the Roman period, a very elegant piece, which is of course even fragmentary, most attractive here, very well done, possibly for the Roman taste in the late Roman Republic or the Augustine period. And then again here, a wonderful, and here really Greek original, which was published at the famous exhibition of 1961 by Sheffold in Meisterwerke. It was one of the pieces in this exhibition which led to the foundation of the Basel Museum, thanks to Sheffold and others. This piece was on loan in Basel in 1961. So I put this here because here we have it's a Hellenistic, early Hellenistic piece, but really in the spirit of the late classical period, but already showing with this oval, lengthy elegance, the early Hellenistic concept of the body. And then, of course, vases reflecting again the youthfulness of the naked warrior, departing like on this vase by this painter. It's an amphora with Schnurhenkel amphora, we call it, with these twisted handles, and is a very good and attractive painter. And you see the Dinos painter, it's quite huge, the figures, how they're standing. Here the youth is saying goodbye to his father, probably going to war. So it's always the connotation of the nakedness is with the passing from one stage life into another stage, like shown, hardly, you can't film it, on this very elegant little funerary lekythos from Athens, where you see a naked youth again at his tombstone, saying hello or saying goodbye to his wife. So the nakedness of male and women is, especially male, is to be put in the center of attention. And one could have a whole seminar on heroic nakedness, especially in German archaeology, like people like Himmelmann, but also Schaumburg, but mainly Himmelmann, did a big monography on that. What does it mean, the nakedness, in Greek and Roman art? Thank you very much.